on the personal trainer example, the model that a lot of people have moved towards to make things passive and remote is to switch things into being info businesses. It's like taking a local business, like, personal trainer or something like that, and changing it to like, here's an info course on either how to get shredded or on how to start a personal training business.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's where I've moved most of my focus is into the information space, less so right now on the course side, but the both info products where people are buying things and then like content affiliate stuff is definitely very like remote and flexibility oriented, which I really like.
I'm wondering if someone can start that, like, let's say they're like, I just want to go be remote. I'm going to start an ebook, which I sell. In theory, many people can, but like, I guess what I hate are people hawking the dream of becoming a digital nomad by buying my course. It's like, ugh, tell me a more repeated playbook than that, right? And most of these people just are buying a course about how to start a course and then sell it to someone else, selling a dream of becoming a digital nomad. And so sometimes I'm wondering, and I'm curious on your opinion, Cam, you have a background in what you do. You have an audience, you have a platform. For you, it makes a ton of sense to do an ebook. What would you recommend to someone just getting started who says, I'm going to start an ebook and sell it, or a course, and that's how I'm going to achieve freedom and travel the world?
Oh, that's a big question. That's a heavy question. I think that's a tough one. I think, I think on the ebook course side, I think ultimately, I think there's one thing I think there's a big shift happening in the world where traditionally we looked at school and college as the places where we got educated. And now it has become, education is everywhere. It's YouTube, it's podcasts, it's tons and tons of things. And this is a long-winded answer, but I'll get to sort of your answer. Okay. But until probably a year ago, I definitely had a very negative slant towards courses, where I looked at courses and I was like, there's a lot of people kind of hawking things and selling things, and a lot of them don't seem that great. And it kind of, I'm like, this feels like a fast, like almost cheating way to make money, and you're not adding that much value. I've definitely shifted, especially when I think about the cost of my education and how low quality a lot of it was. And so thinking about it in parallel, thinking about courses as like an independent thing of like, how does this stack up with college education and like other sort of normal education forms that people pay for? And I mean, I went to USC, where probably each course that I was taking was, I don't know, $4 or $5 grand or something like that. And I mean, I had a couple courses with professors that like did not speak English, where I didn't learn anything and I just didn't even go to classes. And I think on the course side, I've warmed up and I've been buying more courses in my own life. And I think a big part of that, I guess, is just I feel like I don't know if
this is good. It's fine. Yeah.
I'm defending courses. Actually, because I will admit, I got into like a big argument. This is on the night I met our mutual friend David, who introduced us actually in Bali. This would have been 3 or 4 years ago. I got into some big argument with some guy who was selling high ticket courses over the phone, and I was kind of like grilling. And I'm like, do you really think what you're doing is like ethical? And I've definitely since switched sides on this one. His argument back then was that this is like free market, and some info is great, some info isn't great, and it's kind of on the consumer to decipher what is valuable and what isn't, which I'm not quite that free market about it. Like, I ultimately think, and this more directly answers your question, if you're not offering a good like a good product, a good information, you shouldn't be selling. Like, you shouldn't be selling something to get rich. You should be selling something to add value. And if you like make a lot of money in the process, that's great. Like, good for you. And as long as, you know, the people that you're selling to are getting benefit out of this and it's a net positive for both parties, like why, you know, trade of goods and services like exists so that people can mutually benefit in exchanges. This guy that I got into argument with, he much more believed like you don't necessarily have to add a net positive to the end user. Like it's on them to make the decision, and which is, I guess, a much more like conservative, much more free market viewpoint, I suppose. Yeah. I think when it comes to info products, I think a lot of people have information or passions that they probably could package and sell.
Yep.
And I think some of it also, like, even when I think about in my own life of, what are expertise things that I could monetize, there are many different areas where it's like, if I went a few levels deeper from where I am right now, I could for sure add a huge amount of value, and I could definitely sell a course on it that would add a lot of value to a lot of people. And so I think for the average person, and one top of mind example that I've been thinking about is like on outsourcing. Similar to you, I have a bunch of employees in many different countries. And probably also for you, like, I don't know how you view yourself on the outsourcing side, but hypothetically, if you spent a year just experimenting and running tons of tests and going 3-4 levels deeper than you are already on the like outsourcing and remote team side of things, you could become probably like a leading expert. Probably as could I. Like if I devoted a year and, stopped watching TV and like really, really went deep.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same for the average person. If it's, whether it's someone who has a background in surfing or is really into meditation or whatever it is, if you go a bunch of levels deeper on something that you already know really well, there is probably a pathway to you making a solid amount of money, or at least a stable income, like selling courses or doing coaching on that topic.